Good morning, everyone, and it's Good Friday morning, and welcome to the Chapman House.
It's lovely to have you join us again this morning. It does seem strange not to be in the church after so many years of sharing Good Friday services in the church, but we just pray that as we meet with you from our home to your home, that it will be a special time when we do remember just the significance of Good Friday and the cost to Jesus and his death on the cross. So we're glad that we can join you, and we hope that this time will be a time of blessing for you.
And it's good to hear that some people as far away as England watched the last live thing that Heather and I did, and glad it was of help to you. So just before we do the my Good Friday message, I want to talk to you something about Eucharist and bread and wine. Okay? I'll just move a bit more central. I have here a loaf of bread, and I have a bottle of champagne. Now, I'm not going to pop the cork on the champagne this morning, but I believe there are people who have bottles of wine, and they keep them for years and years and years and years, and they never open them because they're just an investment, which I think is a terrible terrible crime, because the wine was made to be drunk. And the same with this piece of bread. This piece of bread was made to be broken and eaten. So in the Eucharist or the Lord's Supper, we use these words that we find in the Gospels, where Jesus took a loaf or took the bread, and there's a kind of a sense of being chosen here, taken. And you and I are often taken by God to be used in a particular way. The second part of it is Jesus, when he had taken the bread, blessed it. And don't we all love being blessed? We just love it when we think that God has taken hold of us and blessed us. And I guess many of us have experienced a lot of blessings throughout our lives. But the third bit is not the nicest bit. He took the bread, he blessed it, and then he broke it. And of course, once it's broken, it's never the same again. But not until it's broken can it actually be given. You in your life and I in mine have all been in a special way taken by God, and we've been blessed. But we've been taken and blessed in order that we can be broken. Only when we're broken can we be given. Now, some of you are going through some very hard times at the moment. You have been broken, and you'll take, hopefully, I will take the pain of that brokenness into my life as it goes on, and having been broken, be able to minister to others who have been broken themselves. So may God bless you in your time of isolation, in your bubbles, whatever that is for you around the world. And may, when this is all over, may you come through it as a people of grace and peace and hope for others. And God bless you. I'm just going to call Heather over, and Heather's going to read for us the Good Friday reading.
Let me share the word of God with you today, and we're reading from Mark chapter 15, verses 21 to 36. On the way, they met a man called Simon, who was coming into the city from the country, and the soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. Simon was from Cyrene and was the father of Alexander and Rufus. They took Jesus to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. There they tried to give him wine mixed with a drug called myrrh, but Jesus would not drink it. Then they crucified him and divided his clothes among themselves. throwing a dice to see who would get which piece of clothing. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The notice of the accusation against him said, "The King of the Jews." They also crucified 2 bandits with Jesus, one on his right and the other on his left. People passing by shook their heads and hurled insults at Jesus. "Aha! You were going to tear down the temple and build it up again in 3 days. Now come down from the cross and save yourself." In the same way, the chief priests and the teachers of the law jeered at Jesus, saying to one another, "He saved others, but he cannot save himself. Let us see the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross now, and we will believe in him." And the 2 who were crucified with Jesus insulted him also. At midday, the whole country was covered with darkness, which lasted for 3 hours. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud shout, my God, why did you abandon me?" Some of the people heard him and said, "Listen, he is calling for Elijah." One of them ran up with a sponge, soaked it in cheap wine, and put it on the end of a stick. Then they held it up to Jesus' lips and said, "Wait, let us see if Elijah is coming to bring him down from the cross." With a loud cry, Jesus died. Thanks be to his word.
Thank you, Heather. Well, this is the message for Good Friday morning, and it's only the first part of this series because it will conclude on Sunday morning. So, as Heather has just read, he died. Joseph of Arimathea took his body, and he and some of the women have placed it in a tomb. They say that because time was short, they would have to return on Sunday morning to wrap his body properly. Because, you see, we were unprepared. We didn't have the spices we would need because we didn't believe it would happen. We believed in him. We thought he would be the one who was going to liberate Israel. And so we are still in shock here in 32 AD. And the last day seemed something of a nightmare. It happened quickly, didn't it? One moment we were celebrating at a table. Remember how he washed our feet? And then there was the thing with the bread and wine and talking of a new covenant, a new relationship, a new agreement with God. And the wine being his blood and the bread being his body, whatever that actually meant. And then the party began to break up. Judas had left, and we made our way up to the Garden of Gethsemane. And remember, he called Peter and a couple of the others to go with him. And I remember waking and hearing him crying. And you and I had gone closer, and it was almost as if some battle was going on, some struggle. He was praying that this cup might pass from him. And remember how we wondered what that could mean. And he spoke about his Father's wishes being carried out. Peter and the others were asleep. Remember how he went and woke them, almost as if he wanted someone to stay awake with him, almost as if he was somehow lonely and needed company. And then there were lights coming, and Judas was there because he came and kissed him, and then the garden was full of guards, and there was noise. They grabbed him, and we saw they had ropes. One of our group tried to use a sword, and then something was said, and we all began to run, running into the night, running and hiding. Somehow the uneasiness of the last months breaking in, remembering the sight of the Roman soldiers that night on the way to Bethany, and the picture of a crucifixion that crossed our minds. And as cold shivers run down our spines, we run away from the lights of the soldiers and away from him, running away into our darkness and our fear, running, leaving him as terror overwhelms us, somehow no longer wishing to be associated with him, no longer wanting the others to know we were with him, afraid that someone will know that we were his friend. We have heard that they have taken him to the high priest's house, and John and Peter are there, and Peter's gone into the courtyard, and I believe he was talking too much for someone twigged by his accent. He was from Galilee and was therefore possibly a friend of Jesus, and it scared him, for we heard that he denied all knowledge of him, that he was cursing. Someone said that Jesus just happened to catch him in the middle of his last outburst, and all the pain and fear and sense of betrayal broke out in Peter, and he left in tears. Jesus was dragged across town to the Roman procurator's palace. Pilate was angry about being woken. The high priest wanted the death penalty, and only Rome can pass that sentence. Pilate sent him even further off to Herod's palace, and Herod sent Jesus back to Pilate. But Pilate didn't want to have him killed. He had Jesus given the 39 lashes and then dragged back before the high priest and his people. I think he hoped they would see how pitiful he looked, naked, no skin, very little flesh left on his back. But they still wanted to kill him, demanding that Pilate have him crucified. And when Pilate tried to talk to him, he wouldn't answer, almost as if he didn't know what was about to happen. Someone laughed and said something like he was a sheep going to be slaughtered. It was morning, and we tried to get near when we heard that he was to be crucified. The guards had taken him below. The detachment would take him to one of the garbage dumps outside the wall of the city, and they would crucify him there. When they came out of the fortress, they had made a crown for him, a hideous thing, thorn branches pushed down as hard as they could to make sure it wouldn't come off his head. They put a crossbeam on his shoulders, but you see his back was so damaged he would collapse at every step. They grabbed a passerby and dumped the beam on his back. And then we were there, and it was happening. The soldiers wanted to get back to the barracks. The stench out there was awful, and so they did it. They stripped him naked, held him and 2 others down, hammered spikes through their wrists, pulled the crossbeam up on the upright, 1 spike through both feet, and it was done. And we kept thinking and hoping, Jesus, show your power now. But he just hung there trying to breathe, covered in blowflies. That was at 9. By 12, great clouds covered the sky. Some said they felt earthquakes. The soldiers wanted to hurry the process up, so they smashed the legs of the other 2. But when they got to Jesus, they found he was dead already. Someone had said that he used a prayer that he had learned as a child before going to bed. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Then he died. Joseph of Arimathea asked for Jesus' body, and he and some of the women took it and wrapped him as best they could and put him into Joseph's own tomb. Kingdom didn't come. And we wonder now what we will do. There's a lot of embarrassment as we meet, and some of us are feeling angry. There's talk of, I should have, if only. Peter is strangely silent. Some are talking about getting out of Jerusalem before they do the same to us. The fishermen are talking about going back fishing, and I guess a lot of us feel that way. You see, he died. Despite our prayers, despite his prayers, he died. Why wouldn't God let him live? Why didn't he speak up for himself? This makes no sense. Why should this good man have had to die so? And we were duped, were we not? We thought he would usher in a kingdom. We had plans, and they all died on the cross. For a moment, he had us thinking that he was the Messiah, the Prince of Glory, but it's obvious now he was just a man. We will go back fishing. At least some of us will. There is talk of opening his tomb when the Sabbath is over to wrap his body properly. And we will wait until then and maybe help the women, and then we will go back. But back to what? You see, even if he has failed, life before him, life before he came and called us was so boring, so pointless. When he was with us, remember, there was always hope, always joy in the impossible situations. Remember how he could somehow talk to our hearts, and his words kind of got us at a depth no one else had. Go back is the last thing I want to do. I can hear already the jibes of those back in my hometown who told us we were crazy to follow him. But you see, life, even with his misguided ideas, even now it seems was better than life without them. Still, now it's over. And we are thinking back here in 32 AD. Let's get Sunday morning out of the way. And then who knows what we'll do. You know, something he said, wouldn't it be odd? What if we went to the tomb and that's crazy talk, isn't it? And so may the Lord bless you and keep you. And the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his peace. Amen. We'll see you on Sunday morning.